I always say this, like skateboarding, it keeps you sane, but it drives you crazy, and vice versa. Like it drives you crazy, like skateboarding, like whether it's you can't land a trick, whether it's like the noise, or whether it's you're falling or whatever, you're battling, and then it keeps you sane. You land it, you're happy, you have a career, you're meeting all these people, you're traveling, like whatever. Like it's such a beautiful thing. There's so many positive things about skateboarding that you need the days where you hate it to feel alive and to love it.
Welcome, everyone, to another Start Your Skate Business podcast. In this episode, we have Evan Diddig, the founder of Shredco, a skateboard education and community company based in New Jersey. It's best known for offering skateboard lessons, camps, and events for kids and adults, often in partnerships with local municipalities, schools, and skate parks, as well as social impact projects within the community and overseas.
You. How's
Evan,
it
what's
going,
up,
Brett?
man? How are you today?
Thanks for having me. I am excellent. I'm living it up.
That is awesome. So, the first thing I want to just ask you, like, what is Shredco?
So Shredco, it's my life. No, Shredco is a skateboard instructional program, as you described. We offer skate lessons, we offer youth programming, camps, birthday parties, all of that stuff, and we also try to give back and do equipment donations, therapeutic events, just anything to get kids and adults, people skateboarding, and just showing the positive effects and what skateboarding has to offer to as many people as we can. Yeah, it's a skateboard. It's a learn to skate program, but it's more than just learning how to skate. It's being a skater and sharing that skate culture with the world and all the positive things that comes from skateboarding. And my goal is to just share that with as many people as I can, whether it's in the community or around the world. That's my kind of my mission.
Very cool. And what inspired you to start Shredco?
So, skateboarding has always been a passion of mine. I started skating when I was 11 years old in around 2005. It was like the height of like Viva La Bam and Jackass, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. So, I was really into the whole culture of like skateboarding growing up. Yeah, so started skating and then did the sponsored skateboarding thing, rode for a couple shops and some sponsors. And that was just my passion. I knew from being a child that like I wanted to keep skateboarding in my life. I went to school for business, to college, like to get a marketing degree, and I always thought like, oh, I'm gonna work in marketing. I'm gonna work get a 9 to 5 suit job, whatever. But that really like wasn't the case. Like when I graduated, I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do with my life. So I figured like, hey, like what better way to like keep skateboarding around as to like start a business and kind of pursue what I love and kind of share that love and passion I have for skateboarding with others. And growing up, I got my first job teaching skateboard lessons at a local shop. So that was something that I always associated with, at like growing up, my job was like a skateboard instructor. So, throughout college, I would have business plan projects and things where I would have to come up with kind of a way to create a skate program of some sorts. Or in my head, I always thought of it as a skate program. So I kind of came up with a little bit of framework while I was in school. And then after graduation, I did some trial and error job hunting, trying to figure out what was for me and what wasn't. And I thought like, you know what, maybe I'll start a business and just see where it goes. I didn't really have like a formalized 5-year plan or anything of that stuff. I was just, like start an LLC, get a bank account, and then anything that comes from skateboarding, any income that comes from skateboarding will go into that account and just watch it grow and reinvest into myself and the business. And then eventually I kind of figured out what worked in terms of a business and kind of rolled with it. Yeah. And here I am 8 years later or so, still doing what I started out doing, and I'm loving every day of it.
Dude, that's a lot of stuff that you just shared there,
Yeah,
man.
sorry, I know I was kind of
No,
excited.
that's
Um,
awesome though. I mean, and I also can like relate a lot to what you're saying about like sharing your passion with other people. Since I started my skate park, really just for myself and my friends to have a place to skateboard
yeah,
and just to go and have our like own private skate park. And that slowly grew into having lessons. And once like as we got older, a couple of our friends started having kids and then bringing their kids to the skate park. And then that's when like the dynamic changed. And then
yeah,
that's when I was just like, Oh, I think I want to do skate lessons now.
That's awesome. I've never actually heard your story from how you guys started. So it's cool to hear that you actually started with this skate park. And I find that like an interesting approach because the pipe dream of like any skateboarder is, oh, I want my indoor skate park. I want to have a park and things like that. So it's really cool and interesting. And I found with Shredco, I almost did the opposite where I had like started just teaching skate lessons in like a parking lot or like at skate parks and stuff like that. And I was never to the point where I'm like, oh, I want my own park. I was kind of like, oh, that's a lot of like, I don't know, having a skate park is kind of crazy. So that was never like the forefront of my goals. And somehow I ended up having a park currently. I wouldn't consider it like a major, super fun indoor skate park. I'd call it more of like a skate studio or like a space for kids to learn. Granted, it's still a fun spot for adults and just skaters to come and skater mini ramp or some quarter pipes and some ledges and stuff. But it's cool to hear how you were like, hey, we're gonna have a skate park, and then all of you, your friends, and everyone had the kids, and then it grew into a skateboard program for kids. Where for me, it was kind of like, oh, I'm gonna start a skate program for kids, and maybe I'll end up with a skate park like that. That it's just opposite ends of the same trail that we're going on.
Totally. So can you walk me down like each step that you had to go through? Like, so you graduated, you
Yeah.
got your LLC. Did you go through LegalZoom? Did you
Yeah, I
like,
did actually. So there's lots of steps, early steps that helped a lot when I was starting the business. And again, I never knew like where it would end up. It's not like a formalized like, okay, when in 5 years, I want to have this indoor skate park. It was kind of like, okay, I want to have a bank account was the most important thing. So any income from skateboarding was separate from working marketing jobs or working at a bar or all my other odd jobs, handy jobs that I used to pay the bill. Skateboarding was here, odd jobs were here. So I had a bank account that I opened up and basically I would teach skateboard lessons every weekend. I would do like extras and casting stuff for skate people like I was in a TV show doing as a skate instructor. I would do like skate stunts for like commercials and things like that earlier because I had lived in New York City at the time. And I would do birthday parties randomly. And then eventually, I had moved back home to New Jersey where I grew up and was working with a local municipality. They were trying to get a skate park, but they had come up with the question of, oh, if we got a skate park, who would use it? Like, are there even skaters in this town? So we had come up with a little program. It was initially a 4 week program to gauge interest of skateboarders. So we had like a sign up, and it ended up being about 20 kids that signed up. And this is my first time working with more than like one or two kids at a time. So I had 20 kids. I was in a parking lot. I had like some cones and a couple skateboards, and I was just kind of like thrown to the fire. But it was a really good learning experience of like coming up with a program and developing kind of a group setting for skateboarding and skateboard lessons and kind of classes. So that was a really cool thing to do and kind of way to start it. And that's kind of how I started growing financially with Shredco. And at the time, we were Skate Now LLC, and I could talk a little bit more about that going forward. But yeah, I started out Skate Now LLC and started doing these municipal programs. So it started with one town. It was successful. We got about 20 kids. I got like paid my first like official check, which seemed like a good amount of money. It was like $1,000 at the time, and I was like, "Wow, this is awesome! I'm so happy." And then that ended up working pretty well for me. I did a few seasons with that town, and then a couple other towns in the nearby area had skate parks or were getting skate parks. This was in like 2017, 2018. So I basically took what I did in the township was called Pequannock. So from the Pequannock programming, I kind of took photos and got videos and put it together, made a little like proposal and said, hey, this is my program. Would you consider offering it at your skate park or with your towns? And most towns were open to it. A few were a little bit like, hey, who are you? You need XYZ, you need insurance, you need whatever, TIA, all these numbers and things like that. And, before I had even started the business, I ran into some issues with that, like not having official insurance and teaching at parks. And so I knew like once I started the business and once it was starting to get official that I needed to get insurance, which was definitely important. And I'm happy that I got that because a lot of programs, schools, municipalities, people I work with require insurance.
real
So
quick
having that,
question
yeah.
for you. Was it hard to get the insurance?
It wasn't necessarily hard. It was definitely a hurdle, but just like tricky because it's something that I didn't really know about beforehand. And I guess when you jump into things like that, it can seem intimidating or hard or something that you don't want to do. But once you do get it, it is helpful. It is a little bit pricey depending on where you go, but if you have your programming, it will offset the cost of the insurance. And it will go up like if you do have a skate park or something like that. But I know there's lots of different skate programs out there, and there's probably many different insurance carriers that offer like services like this. So there are resources out there, and if you do have questions, like feel free to send me an email or reach out, and I could point you in the right direction for skateboard insurance. And I'm sure Brett has his own carriers and stuff too. So it is, yeah, I would say starting out with insurance definitely helps. It may not be necessary at first if you're smaller or just like a skateboard instructor at like a park or something. But if you do want to scale and grow with municipalities and from other, I don't know, as a business standpoint, if you want to open up your own park or have your own space, I definitely would recommend it. It just gives you more opportunities. Yeah. And like what you mentioned before too with LegalZoom, like I didn't even know how to start a business when I went to business school and I didn't know like, oh, what do you need to do to start a business, you know? But I did go to my whole concern was I want a bank account. I want to be able to save all this money and reuse it for skateboarding. So in order to get that, you need an LLC or some sort of bank business account so you can open up and get your own separate business entity. So that's like what I had to do. I went through LegalZoom. I think it was like $600 to open up a LLC, or you could do different like S corps or B corps or sole proprietorships. I think it was the easiest for me to do it in LLC, and I registered it through the state of New Jersey. And yeah, these are like the first initial like I guess hurdles or barriers or whatever. But it's important too when starting to kind of have a strong foundation with whatever you're doing to kind of officiate or officialize, if that is even a word, your programming. And yeah, starting with the LLC, starting with the insurance, and another thing that really helped me when I was getting started was like a trademark. And I could talk more about that in a little bit too, but I think those are pretty three like important legal things that need to be done in order to succeed as a business owner.
Awesome. Yeah. So you mentioned, all right, so to get started, start a business.
Yep.
So you went to LegalZoom, then you created a bank account
Yep.
for within your business name.
Yes, so my bank account was under Skate Now LLC, and when
Okay.
I first started teaching skate lessons, it was just Skate Now. Skate Now was the company. Skate Now was the business name. Yeah, everything was really good and great, and I started it. I graduated college in December of 2016, and I started my business in March of 2017. So it was pretty quickly after I graduated. I had worked as a temp in Midtown Manhattan doing just like mailroom stuff, and I worked for like a social media marketer at some energy drink companies and just worked at a bar and like just did a bunch of odd jobs and things. And I was like, dude, like this 9 to 5 life of like wearing a suit and like going places and things like that, like I just didn't like it because I remember like walking down the hallway and being on break and like looking at like the marble like picking tables inside of the office building and being like, damn, that'd be sick to skate on, and like daydreaming, like walking around the block, like looking out the windows at like the plaza and being like, oh, like so like I'm a skater. I grew up as a skateboarder. That's who I am. That's my bloodline. So
Question for you then.
yeah.
All right, so when you created your company, when you created legal, when you went in there and created, and you decided to really go all in, did you originally try to go all in, or did you like go in it slightly while keeping your like another job on the
Yes,
side?
that's a great question. I definitely didn't go all in until like afterwards. Like when I first started, I still worked at a bar. So I graduated college. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I moved back home with my parents to save money. I worked at a bar backing. I did social media marketing, and then every weekend I would teach skate lessons. So I had like four different hats, and I was trying to save as much money as I could. And then I started this LLC. I continued working at a bar. I continued doing my social media job. And then about a year or so later, I was able to sustain myself enough and have a little bit of a framework to quit my other jobs. I think in like 2018, maybe like May or June, like right before the summer, I was able to like quit and say like, hey, I'm just gonna focus on this. And
So what was
yeah,
that moment like? How did you come to that point where you're like, I'm going all in, I'm quitting my job, this is
Yeah.
a giant risk that you're doing.
It was a risk, but at the same time, I didn't really think of it as I had a lot to lose. Like I had like saved up money. I don't even think it was like $10,000 worth of money. I think it may have been like $5,000 to $6,000 worth of like just like fun money to like use for the business. And again, I was living at home, so I didn't have the expensive rent. All my main expenses were like insurance. Like if I had like a few contractor employees that were helping out. So I had like employee payroll, my like car, my phone, just like random like small things. So it wasn't like the expenses were too high. So I thought like, okay, if I do have to risk it, it wouldn't be like too bad to just like stop doing one of these other odd jobs that I'm working. And I think I quit like the social media job first because I didn't like that at all. Not that I didn't like it, but I wasn't really that as passionate about it. So I quit that, and the bar was fun, but at the same time, like I was working really late nights and then having to wake up early and teach lessons. Like it wasn't like good for my just body and mental space. Like I was just like burnt out all the time. So I quit the bar next, and then yeah, I just like focused on that, and I was like, you know what? Like if I can make what I'm making at these other jobs here, I could continue doing what I'm doing. And then I was able to do that and kind of grow. Got a couple more just like programming programs hooked up with municipalities, and I was like really hustling hard in the early days, like going to skate parks and just teaching private lessons for like 6 hours in a row without a break. Maybe like a 15-minute break to like eat a lunch, but just like one kid after the other. And then yeah, like I had like a network during the early days of just like parents, and like they would basically post on Facebook like their kids skating, like Tommy dropping in, and then other parents would be like, "Oh, that's so cool. Like I want my kids to take lessons." So word of mouth was definitely like a huge early marketing like way for the brand to grow and to spread, and a lot of like hustling on my end to kind of spread the word and to get the name out there and to really push the brand forward, if
So,
that makes
question
sense.
for you.
Yeah, yeah.
So before we get, because I do want to ask you some marketing questions and
Yeah,
how
for
your
sure.
company grew, but so you just starting out, you went through this process, you started your company and you started small doing programs while you're still working on the side. And
Yeah.
then eventually you decide to go all in, quit everything. What was your grand vision at that time? Because I know like over time, like think when you originally start, it's
Yeah.
just to do lessons. Sometimes you don't even
Yeah.
know what you want to do. You're kind of going aimlessly, but you know you're going somewhere in a positive direction, you're
Yep.
growing, but you don't really have that grand vision yet.
I
So when you had to quit, there was probably a moment where you had in mind where like, you know what, I can take Shredco to something else. Like I can make this
yeah.
something really like big. What was your grand vision at that time? Were you thinking like community impact? Were you thinking
Mhm.
franchising? Were you thinking something else?
So I think that the term like grand vision is so like it's so hard for me to see that. From when I started to even today, like it's so hard for me to be like, okay, this is where I want to be. I'm like every day is kind of just playing along like where I could end up and who I meet and where I go. And it's so like hard. Like from when I first started, I never had a 5-year plan. I never had a 10-year plan. I never said I want to have a skate park and I want to live here. Like I just can't, my brain doesn't work that way. I'm very just like go take every day as it is and go as you go. And there are some people that have a strict routine, like, hey, this is where I want to be, this is what I'm going to do, and these are the steps. So for me, it was a lot of like experimenting and kind of just figuring things out as I go and as I went. And I guess when I first started, my goal was just to like reach as many people as I could, whether it was in community or around the world. I was inspired by a lot of organizations out there, like Skate After School in Arizona, skateboarding as a tool to one, not just like teach kids and not just learn how to do it, but also to basically use skateboarding as that tool for together, build community, get kids like off the street, out of trouble, like doing positive work. And like a lot of people, especially if you're skateboarders watching this, you see firsthand the positive aspects of skateboarding and like what that does to people, to kids, to just individuals, and that whole like mentality of like just bringing like the whole community and being a better person and like stepping outside of your comfort zone, building confidence, like all these positive things. I wanted like as many people as I could reach to get that goal. So it's not so much like, oh, I want to like come up with a skate school and then franchise it. Like I would love to do that if it was possible to like, set up a franchise and build it up and then grow like and become like a multi-million, like that was never my like, hey, I'm gonna do that. If it happened or if it like, things were working in that direction and I saw myself going to, hey, my skateboard school is super successful and we have so much extra profits, I'm gonna open up a second and a third and a fourth. Like it's possible that things could like happen that way. It's also possible like, hey, like I love what I'm doing so much and I've made a great connection in Zambia and I'm just gonna move out to Zambia and work and build this skate school in Zambia and just work with this community and help them out. Like that could be a path that I take too. I've never locked myself into a certain direction. And I find that it's stressful to like for some people it's stressful to like have like that set thing and then try to reach it and like go for it and maybe you fail or maybe you get there or whatever. Like having that could be like sometimes that the idea of that to me is stressful. And sometimes the idea of like not knowing where you're going next, not having that plan is stressful. And I'm like, I feel like I'm in like a happy medium of like, okay, like if this happens this way, if this happens that way, I'm just kind of taking it as it goes and really just doing my best to just spread the positivity, I guess. It's
So
like I said, my brain doesn't work like certain ways. Like it's hard for me to just visualize like, okay, I want exactly this or whatever.
definitely.
Yeah.
So no really like end goal. You just kind of like going with like I don't want to say going with the flow, but you're going in a
Yeah.
positive direction. It really
Hmm.
help aiming to impact other people and
Yeah.
other communities, not just within your community, but all over the world.
Hmm. I
And I
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I would say that the end goal is definitely impact and like impacting the most people, and just like I would say maybe just like being able to live comfortably doing what I'm doing without having to live comfortably what I'm doing through skateboarding while creating the most amount of impact. I would say that's a safe end goal.
Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Because my next question was going to be if there is, not a grand vision,
Yeah.
if there was a purpose or a why behind what you do, not just only your company, because
Hmm.
your company is a reflection of yourself.
Hmm.
So really of like what your purpose is as a person. And, I've been really big into this for a while myself with my company, Start Your Skate Business and Skate the Foundry, because I think purpose matters a lot and it's going to show what intentions or it's going to bring to light the intentions that you have behind your actions. So, for example, like Skate the Foundry, my indoor skate park, what I realized over the years, it's like my purpose really is to teach and educate. And that's what I really like to do. I don't care whether it's skateboarding in business or something else, but sharing knowledge and sharing that and receiving that from other people. I think that's really important. And I can see, well, I don't want to speak for you, but can you say, what your purpose is?
I would say you're spot on with what you said to just share knowledge, whether it's through skateboarding or other aspects of life. Like, yeah, a lot of skateboarding overlaps, or a lot of like teaching of skateboarding overlaps with education. So I find myself working with all different like walks of life. So, you're working with the kids that are learning how to skate, and then I'm working with like, the kids that are in middle school and they're growing up and they're teenagers, and I'm helping them with like different problems in life stages. And then I'm also working with like college students and high schoolers that are like looking for their first job. So I'm like helping teach them about like, getting that first job and working and what it's like to like have to be accountable and be responsible and things like that. And then I'm also, working with like young parents and young adults who have kids. So those are my clients. Those are the people that are, paying for the service of skate lessons and making sure that, their kids are doing well and having fun. And I'm talking with them and hearing about their children and if they're having like, behavioral issues or things that are going on at school, and I'm trying to help them and teach them and just work with them. And then, I also have like adults that want to learn how to skate. They're like, going through like mid 40s and stuff. And they're like, I used to skate when I was younger and I want to get back into it. So like, I do feel like this career path, it brings you with all different, aspects of life, not like just age demographics. And I think that's really cool. And it definitely solidifies like that purpose of like, hey, I'm here to not just teach you how to skateboard, but to just like guide you in the right direction of just positivity and yeah, like where you see yourself. And I don't know, I've been through a lot in my life, and just being able to share some personal experiences with the younger generation is cool and it's a blessing. And yeah.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I tell a lot of my staff members, And I tell the parents too, like, whenever I'm teaching a child, it's like, I don't care if you learn nothing about
Yeah,
skateboarding. It's like, we're here together. You're going to get something out of it, whether you're building your confidence or something like that. Like, I can care less if you can go down a ramp or ollie. It's like, let's prove everyone that said you couldn't do this wrong. I had parents that came in that with their children that had disabilities, and they're
mm,
like, my child can't skateboard, but he keeps talking about skateboarding, so I had to bring him here. But you don't think he can
yeah,
do it. You can just say he does it, he can't do it, and we'll leave. And I'm like, absolutely not. We are
yeah. We're gonna
doing it,
try.
and you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's beyond the action of skateboarding. Yeah, and I think that's, I mean, you and I, like even what you're describing now, I can, we obviously are relating to that on such on a high level.
thank
But
you.
I want to get into some starting your programming, starting and
Yeah,
scaling your program. I guess we talked about starting your programs,
yeah.
but let's talk about like scaling it because you went from, doing working with one municipality
Hmm.
to working with more now schools and having your own location. So,
Yeah.
how did you go about getting your first clients? I get asked this all the time, and this was like my number one question when I started.
So, starting was definitely tricky. And again, I like to describe it as, from a skateboarder's perspective, you have to push uphill at first, and then eventually you'll get to the top of the hill and you could bomb the hill and ride down and coast. And I heard about that or I thought about that like when I was like first starting. I was like, dude, like that's like, I don't know, that's just how it is. So when I first started, I was like hustling very hard. I would make business cards that had my name and information. I would go to skate parks, any parents there with young kids, hand them out. Hey, I'm Evan. I'm a skateboard instructor. I'm happy to, set up lessons or whatever. This is my rate. This is my number here. You could give me a call, text me, whatever. I'd also go to local skate shops and ask them, hey, is it okay if I either put up a flyer or put out some cards that people could take? Like if like parents come in for a new skateboard, you could give them my card, et cetera, et cetera. And then when I first started doing that, there wasn't really a lot of other like skateboard schools and skate instructors out there, especially in New Jersey. I know now that a lot more are popping up, and sometimes shops may have their own program, so it may be a little trickier, but definitely just hustling at skate parks and like getting the name out there and just handing out business cards and just like having something to like people will like remember you by like just like hey like I'm Evan, or even if it's like a kid just skated and you see them at the park, you're like, oh, hey, maybe put your feet here. I'll help you drop in or whatever. And just that act of kindness of like just helping them on their own. Sometimes parents will be like, hey, do you teach lessons or hey, this or that? But it wasn't even about that. When I first started, I was just kind of like, hey, like, if you put your feet here when you go down the ramp, like if you spread your feet out, put them on the bolts, you're not going to fall when you ride down this bank ramp. And like a lot of that was just kind of just intuitive of like, I don't want to see a kid get hurt. And then, yeah, just like talking to parents and people in the community. And, skateboarding, it is a huge community. So, like, other skateboarders will be like, oh, yeah, like, meet so and so. Or other parents will be like, oh, yeah, I work at a school. Like, they'd love to have a skateboard program at our school for an after school enrichment. So, a lot of like the earlier stages was networking, word of mouth, grassroots, just like, here's my card, here's my information, and then growth from there. And then once I started to do it enough, I got a little bit of like not necessarily like a portfolio or a resume, but basically just like photos, videos, little PowerPoint. And then I was able to like send that of like, hey, this is Shredco, this is what we do, or this is Skate Now, this is what we do. Send it to basically like any municipality that had a skate park. Again, some like don't necessarily want to do it, some are open to it, some like want to meet in person, and you go basically explain what you have. They'll ask you like, oh, do you have insurance or do you have this XYZ? And then you could share it. And then over the years, I was able to kind of build out my schedule from like week to week, month to month. And now it works basically seasonality. So like I'll have my spring program, I'll have my summer camps, and then I'll have my fall program. And then winter was always the downtime, but now we have an indoor park, so we do like winter programming. And then I kind of fill my schedule like every day of the week. I'm bouncing around somewhere else to do a different program. And in terms of scale, like I think that I've gotten to the point where like I'm at max capacity of what I could do myself. And I would say like looking for either just responsible adult individuals that could help manage things like manage programs like that without me, because again like we're all just one person. Like it's hard to do stuff and to grow without a really important team and competent team. So just focusing on growing a team and people that you could trust and that are good with kids and that are also equally as passionate is it could be challenging, but if you find the right people, it could be very rewarding. And doing that over the last 8 years was able to just grow and scale, and eventually like we were able to save enough up in that initial business account that I started in 2017 to open up an indoor space and to kind of maintain that and grow it over the years. So that's kind of where we're at today.
Before we
And
get
yeah,
too far into that,
mhm,
because I do want to get into talking more about your indoor park and getting
yeah,
into that, but I also want to just bring up, going back to finding those first clients.
yeah, yeah,
So you did answer like a lot of you gave a lot of good, really good information as far as like getting them business cards, going
mhm,
up to people. I do want to go back a little bit and also share some other additional information because I know that you probably do this as well as far as like knowing that you're not only just looking for skateboarders to do lessons, right?
yeah,
You're looking for the people who need access to skateboarding
yeah,
because skateboarding it's kind of expensive to get into it. It's not as expensive as like golf or anything crazy like that, but it is expensive because to get a good skateboard,
yeah,
first, like you don't even know where to get a good skateboard, and most of the time people will get like a crappy skateboard and
mhm,
absolutely hate it because of
yeah,
that. So I think with you, like you have equipment ready for people.
yes,
So that makes it really easy. And I think it's like I always say, like, you have to create skateboarders. Like, if
yeah,
I'm
that's the way to put it.
marketing to skaters, it's like those skaters are already doing the research to find programs and skateboard lessons or skate parks. They're already looking for that information. So they're going to find you, or hopefully they'll run across you.
Mhm.
But those people that have an interest in skateboarding, but never really like took that first step. Those are the people that we're really trying to find, or people that just don't even know about skateboarding, but then they finally see it and they're like, whoa, I gotta try that,
Yeah, definitely.
Do you do anything like that? Like how do you find these non-skaters and make them skateboarders?
Yeah, so that's another really good a good question. Again, starting like as a partner with municipalities, a lot of these programs have a lot of kids already, and not every kid is a team sport player. So once I was in with certain municipalities, they'd send out mail letters and say like, okay, skateboarding is now a youth sport. So they phrase it. So instead of signing up for like baseball or soccer or whatever, you could sign up for skateboarding. So having access to a town's mailing list with tons of other youth on there is one aspect, and being able to do that, like, it helps get a lot of kids that may not be already skaters into skateboarding. And then another thing that we were doing was school assemblies. So like it started with, I guess, one of my other students or like skate clients was their parent worked at a school, and they had come up to me like, "Hey, do you ever do assemblies?" And I was like, I never have, but I could." And I just thought about like when I was a kid, like what I would like want to see be exciting. And I remember just like a lot of action and just like big jumps and things like that. So we set like a kicker ramp up. I was doing like ollies off over boards. I like ollied over the principal. The kids were going crazy. And that was like one of our most popular after school programs. We got 40 kids signed up, and we had to do two days. 20 kids each day, and it was like massive. It was a super popular program. It was amazing. But yeah, you don't know like what kids like, yeah, kids don't know exactly what they like until they see it. So like getting them exposed to skateboarding is always a fun way to do it. And I noticed a lot of like skateboarders like kids at young ages, when they're like 3 to 5, like they see skateboards and they're just like fixated on it. So we started offering like a skate tots class for like younger kids too. And yeah, another partnership we have is like with the YMCA, where they have lots of other youth sports, but working with them, they offer youth skateboarding. And we ended up building some ramps for them to keep at the YMCA. And we meet with them once a week, pull out the ramps, kids all skate. It's another program. But
So
yeah, there's lots of creative ways to get involved with other organizations, whether it be municipalities, schools, YMCA's, youth groups, things like that, where kids, even Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, we've done quite a few like troop skateboarding events where there's good conglomeration of kids or people that you're targeting, whether it's like kids or adults or just, people looking for a new activity. If you have a group of like, I don't know, 10 to 20 people, there's a good chance that one or two are going to maybe stick with it. And then those or two are going to continue doing your program. But yeah,
so
reaching as many people as possible is definitely important.
So when you're working with YMCA, schools, municipality, your information of, Shredco, your name is getting out there.
Yeah,
So it's almost like free marketing. Is that right? Like
it is.
you're getting
Yeah.
exposed because it's not just the people that are signing up, it's the
Yeah.
people that are also seeing that there is an option for
Hmm.
skateboarding taught by Shredco. Now, when these people enroll into your programs, do you ever like how do you keep them? Like, how do you turn them from clients of a recreational
Yeah.
department or a school or the YMCA into your clients, where they're coming to you, to your Shredco facility, and doing
Hmm.
programs with you outside of the other organization?
Definitely. So we do have like everyone that does the programming, they sign waivers and I guess paperwork to enjoy it. So we get their email and contact and everything. So we add them to a mailing list, and when we do our programming, we would reach out to everybody, hey, like we offer this, we offer that, and a lot of them will just transfer right over to the indoor programs, especially the kids that like it, or to some of our other outdoor programs. And then also, I usually come with stickers and like little promotion cards, like, hey, 10% off your first lesson or whatever. Like, come to our space. So anything I could give out for like just like they get the kids excited and to give us to your parent, like here's your sticker or whatever. They get excited about that, and then they end up coming out to skate. And we have a pretty big mailing list and chain, and keep them all updated with our latest news and such.
That's so cool. So, like now, like here's my next question.
Yeah,
What are some, and you're kind of already answering this, like
yeah,
what are
yeah.
some strategies that you do to keep your clients coming back?
That's a good one. And again, I kind of touched upon it, but stickers are huge. So kids will go crazy for stickers. So I have a bunch of different like Shredco stickers and designs with the name and the logo and different variations. So kids will come back and be like, "Hey, can I get the holographic sticker? Or, hey, can I get the one with the hands, or the gold one, or the snake, or whatever it is." But they are obsessed with the stickers, and then I have them put them on their helmet. So like when the kids are at the skate park, other kids could see their stickers and be like, "Oh, those are sick," like whatever, or like they'll know like, "Hey, they both have Shredco stickers. Hey, are you one of Evan's students?" Or, "Hey, are you a Shredco skater?" And then that's like an instant connection for them at the park to be friends. So yeah, I would say stickers and marketing and just like a positive experience for them is huge, and that's even more important than like another email like, "Hey, how did we do?" Like if the kid has fun and they enjoy themselves, like they're gonna want to come back on their own. So that is just like making sure that they really enjoy themselves. I also have like kind of like these other stickers, and it's basically like levels, so like sticker levels. So like when you first come in, you get a green sticker. It means you're an absolute beginner. You could learn how to push, ride, maybe do like a 6-inch ramp. And then you get a yellow sticker as you progress. You could ride down ramps by yourself. You could do like small little like pivots and stuff. And then you get an orange sticker when you start learning how to drop in and how to maybe like kick turn. And then the red sticker, that's like intermediate, like you're dropping in, you're doing ollies, you're riding off boxes, things like that.
Do they
And
put
it
the
kind of
stickers on their helmet?
yeah, stickers on their helmets or their boards, but we usually put them on their helmets so they can kind of progress and see like what levels they are. And then the kids want to advance. It's similar to like Taekwondo where they could get like a black belt or a blue belt or whatever belt. I never took it, so I don't know the order. But yeah, the kids will get their stickers and they get excited about joining the next level. And what we did recently was we had a contest for each level. So we had basically if you were an orange sticker, you're good to enter. And we had an orange category, we had the red category, and then we had like a blue one for like the advanced kids. And then kids all like got super excited. They were coming in to train. They were like practicing, and then we got a couple local sponsors and industry sponsors to support it. And yeah, we had a really great turnout. But yeah, I guess to answer the question, I know I love to go off on tangents because that's just how my brain works. But basically, getting the kids psyched and motivated, and finding not just the value of coming, but like progressing and self-progressing, right? Because when the kid is motivated to get better, they want to come more and get better. And if they have a positive experience with a friendly staff and just enjoying it, they're gonna want to continue doing it.
That's so powerful, man. That is
Thank you.
that's hard to do too, by the way, having the sticker levels. So I got to give you props on that because
Thanks.
at my skate park, we try to have levels and
Yeah.
keeping track of that and you're making competitions with it. Like that is super cool, but that is really hard to like maintain and do. At least that from what I noticed. I also want to ask you too, like well, one of the things that I brought like I do at my park is, provide the best service possible, which you are already doing, which
Mhm.
you already expressed. But also, it goes beyond just like doing the best service that you can for the kid, but also for like the parent, because like
Yes.
that parent is the one buying the
Yeah.
lessons, the programs. And these programs, when you start to have your own facility and you're paying instructors, your
Yeah.
programs are not cheap. It's a specialty program, so it's not filled up like baseball or soccer where you can have 30 people enroll and pay $20 and you're still making a profit. It's a smaller group of people, so it's going to cost more. And you got to make sure your parents are going to be stoked to pay that price. They want to see the benefits for their children, but also they want to be comfortable and they also want to be included and see their child's progress. So, what do you do for like some of your parents?
So while they're at the space, I guess making them feel just like comfortable and that they're engaged. So we have basically like a little like kind of like a fence, like just like pillars so that they can watch and see like every step of the way. If it's mellow, I will encourage them to like come out to the park. They can take videos and like hang out and like kind of see how their kids are doing. And then yeah, I don't necessarily have like specific like oh stickers for parents, but yeah, we'll offer like promos and things like that. So like if they sign up for programs earlier or they bundle, they could get like a discount, things like that. But yeah, I don't have a specific answer for that. And maybe if you have anything in mind, you could give me an example
I
or something.
think you,
Yeah,
I think you answered it. I mean, that's pretty much exactly what we do.
yeah,
We try to make it comfortable for parents to watch. Originally during COVID, we asked parents to leave, and then like
yeah,
we kind of kept that vibe because like kids were like able to pay attention more.
yeah.
But then we noticed that there was a drop off of people enrolling in our programs because the parents weren't in there. They weren't watching like
Mhm.
or seeing like, the benefits of it. And then we're like, you know what? Like, well, I was just like, dude, we got to include these parents. Like,
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like, we got to get them in there. They got to watch the video. Like, they got want to get their videos of little Timmy going down the ramp for the first time. Like, we got to do this. And also parents need to see how we teach and talk to their
exactly.
children. Like, we are talking to them like they're teachers at their schools. We're not just at the skate park and like just, you know, talking in with
Yeah,
like
being
slang.
skaters. Yeah, like, yo, dude, that was sick. Do it again.
Yeah, right.
But no, yeah, and I think yeah, having them involved or like a sense of involvement with the skateboarders and the lessons, and like another thing too that I just thought of that you bring up was just like giving the kids like homework or just something to practice. So a lot of times, like when a kid will take a lesson, I'll just say like, hey, your homework is, and they're like, homework, and then it'd be like, yeah, you have to skate at least one time before the next lesson on your own. And the parents would be like, yeah, like we'll get you going, we'll get you skating. Another one too, I like to have them like watch a skateboard video on YouTube, things like that. And parents get excited when their kids like have stuff to do at home and to practice. And I know a lot of like dads especially are like, oh, I used to ski, I want to get back into it too. Or like, do you have like father son lessons or parent kid lessons? And I'm like, yeah, like we could set that up. We could do something like that. And another thing too that I noticed with having a business like this is like being able to accommodate requests. A lot of times like you have like a service menu and then parents will come in and be like, oh, well, so and so, my kid is homeschooled and they're only available at this time. Do you offer anything? I'm like, well, I don't, but I can. And then, I started like a homeschool session that ended up getting pretty popular. And then yeah, like a parent kid skate lesson. We do a lot of sessions like that. We don't have it necessarily like advertised or like up as a service, but we will do it and we'll accommodate. And yeah, like a lot of things, like you never really know what is a good product or service until someone asks, and then you put it out there, and sure enough, like it's popular and people sign up for it. Like for example, a good one was the skate tots class, whereas when I was teaching just myself at a skate park, people would be like, "Oh, will you teach my like 3-year-old or 4-year-old?" And I'd be like, "No, that's like too young. There, it's like a dangerous thing." But when enough people asked me, I was like, "Okay, you know what? We can make a safe skate class for kids. Like we could get like mats out and have like them work with like hand holding and certain games to just like have them have fun and associate skateboarding with just play and fun." And I think that's a really great thing to do at a young age like that.
Totally. Yeah. So another question. I just aside from this, talking about skate parks at public spaces. You do this a lot. You started out this way. Was there ever a time where you faced judgment or a stigma for teaching skateboarding?
Definitely. And I still will sometimes get that. It's not like one, you get it from other skaters that are just like, move out of the way, get the kid out, whatever, like just egotistical, like I want to be a sponsored or skater or contest skater, whatever. Like that I don't really care about. It also helps too, like when you actually could skate yourself. So like I noticed when I was like younger, I would like be teaching lessons for like 4 hours and like kids would be giving me a hard time. And then after I finish lessons, I do like a kickflip back down. Everyone's like, okay, whatever. So that was definitely a plus there because like I grew up skating. I grew up as a sponsored skater. Like I know how to skate. It's not that I'm like doing it because I want to like make money off skateboarding. Like I want to do it because I want kids to love skateboarding like I love skateboarding. And I think that the stigma of like skate lessons and skate classes, like I faced backlash almost like at every park. Oh, great! Like the Shredco kids are here. Someone like made a meme about it, like, oh, when you go to the park and Shredco has lessons and it's like kids like crying or whatever. I'm like, dude, that's funny, but whatever. Like you have to brush it off and you can't let it get to you because again, it's like what these are kids that are skating and what in like 5 years they're gonna be not skating or whatever. And when it's like skate culture is like you're like a punk, you're like anti-establishment. Oh, like yes, whatever. So I don't really care too much about other skaters' opinions, especially if it's something that I'm doing to like make money and to support myself and to have a career. Like I could care less. And yeah, there's always going to be backlash at when you're using the same public space as another person. I did have backlash from towns during early days when I was just going there and teaching lessons. I remember specifically one of the towns locally was like the guy was a real jock and he like had a meeting with me and I was like, hey, like I'll offer the skate lessons. And I didn't have insurance at the time and this was like really, really early days before I think I was still in college. And he was like, you come into my skate park to teach skateboard lessons is like me going to your yard and playing basketball with your hoop. I'm like, dude, like it's not like that at all. He was like the worst. But it was really funny and it
Was
made me
this a
like,
person that worked
yeah,
with
it
the
was like it was a Parks and Rec director of some sort. And he was like Mondo Jock, like really funny. And at the time, like I didn't, it was discouraging to hear. And I was like, damn, like this is a bummer. But then it kind of just was like, all right, well, so like if I can't do it because I don't have insurance or whatever, I'm just gonna get insurance and like make myself official. And then I did that. And then like sure enough, like I was teaching literally lessons at like the same park later for like clinics and stuff. And like I don't think he was at the park anymore, but or at the program anymore. But it was just funny that like, haha, I came full circle, things like that.
For sure, yeah. There's a couple times where I think going back to this question,
Mhm.
I'm gonna like just share a little bit about like my experience doing it as well. I
Yeah.
started out a lot different as you mentioned, as we talked
Yeah.
about early on. Like I started out with the skate park and that led me to teaching lessons.
Uh-huh.
And the biggest judgment I had to deal with was like with myself because I felt like a sellout for taking advantage of skateboarding. Like I was like,
Mhm.
skateboarding is something I love so much. It has given me everything. And
Yeah.
now I'm gonna try and like give someone like access into the skateboard world
Yeah.
without like the falls and like having them battle for it the way I did. So that was like my thing. Like I was just like, I don't know if I really want to do this. And I talked to so many people, and I talked to like my one teacher in college. He was a sales and marketing teacher, and then he was just like, "Why aren't you teaching lessons at your skate park?" Because at that time I had the skate park,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Dude, I feel like a sellout." And he's just like, "Mark Zuckerberg's a sellout. Everyone's a
Yeah.
sellout." He's just like. I was just like, oh, I guess you're kind of right. He just like told me all this stuff. He's just like, dude, you have something unique that you can really help
Yeah.
people with. And that shifted my mindset. And then later on, I don't even know. No, I'm not gonna. I guess I can kind of share this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can share this. So when I started my skate shop, there was a few companies, one in particular that I really wanted to have in my shop.
Mhm.
And they looked at the company website. They saw that we have kids. They're like, no way, you do skateboard programs.
Yeah.
We're not selling out our image to you so you can sell in your skate school. And I was so bummed. I worked and I actually went to their website and bought a bunch of their boards to prove like we can move your boards.
Yeah.
So I bought them for full price and I social proofed it. Like I took pictures, put it up on our gram, tagged them. It's still, I hit them back up like, come on, come on. And then they're like, the owner looked at your company and said, no way. And then freaking like 3 months later, they sell out to Zoomies. And I'm like, dude, you're gonna call me a
Damn.
sellout? You're gonna call me a sellout? And you're selling out. I was just like, there's no such thing. Everyone's a sellout. I was
Yeah.
So it's just like I say this whole story is because it's like I feel like your judgments of yourself, like at least for me, it's like really held me back for so long, and I could have had a bigger impact on people because once I started to like actually do skate lessons,
Yeah.
people loved it. Like I had
Yeah.
way more people like thank me, like people that I thought that were gonna like really be completely against it. They were like all about it and helping me. Like they were sharing it on their Instagram. The skate shops, the core skate shops, Nocturnal
Yeah.
here,
That's
they
awesome.
were sharing it, and I'm like, dude, what? This was holding me back the entire time. So
That's interesting from like I guess your perspective because again like we have the same similar path but it's just reverse order. So like you started with the skate park and did the lessons and I started with the lessons and the skate park. So that's like really cool. I didn't realize that about the Skate the Foundry, but yeah, I don't think there's any shame in teaching skate lessons. I didn't have them when I was a kid. I learned and fell and stuff, but just because you take skate lessons doesn't mean you are like less of a core skater or anything. Like there's so many pros now that like grew up as like skate lesson kids. Like literally like almost all of like the Olympic athletes were
yeah,
like kids like taking skate lessons. And I think that just because you take skate lessons to get like a foundation doesn't mean you like some kids will take like 3 lessons and then like learn how to push and then they're good and they don't take any more lessons. And then some kids take lessons all the way up until they're like grinding handrails. And at that point, you're like, okay, like you don't need a lesson. You're better than me, but you may need some guidance in other aspects of like filming or like meeting the right sponsors or connecting and things like that. So there are definitely kids that I've like grown with over the years that have started out as like kids needing lessons to learn tricks, but eventually evolving to the point where you're not so much teaching them how to skate, you're teaching them how to like connect and be a skateboarder and how to create almost a career for themselves as a skater. And I think that's cool too because like growing up and taking that path of like, okay, learn how to skate, get good, and then you get a sponsor. So then, you get a shop sponsor and then, learning how to like connect and like email like with like reps and things like that to get boxes and to get better and kind of film video parts. It's kind of like, okay, that's a really cool, passionate avenue that I was hyped on. So when I get a kid that's like really good and like trying to pursue like getting sponsors and things like that, I'm like, oh, this is exciting. Like, it's almost like a manager in a sense. Like, hey, I'm connecting you with this brand. Like, this is what you need to do. This is what you have to film. Like, not what you have to film, but like this is how you have to present yourself for brands to actually sponsor you. It's not just like, hey, I'm sponsored. Like, where's my box?
totally. So, how do you balance the business side with keeping skating fun and true?
Oh, that's the hardest part, dude. Like when you're a skateboarder, my entire life is skateboarding, right? I grew up skating. I work in skateboarding. I literally live right next to a skate park. I hear skateboards clacking all day. I will work at a skate park, and as soon as I'm done, I don't want to skate. I like my passion for physically skating in the last like 3 years has went like which is really unfortunate because I do love it, but it's so hard to manage my enjoyment to physically do it, especially as I'm getting older. Like I'm 31 now. I started this business when I was like 23 maybe, and it is definitely harder and harder to like physically skateboarding the further and more along I get into it. Like it's always a good feeling to like get on your board and do a tray flip first try and like do like certain things, but physically getting out there like filming, whether it's street or even just like an iPhone edit at the skate park, like I have such a high standard for my self skating that when I like go out and I can't do certain tricks or I'm like just like struggling and battling, I'm like, oh dude, it's not even worth it. Like I can't keep progressing, so it's harder for me to like post a video of me doing something basic or whatever. So I guess like having to live with me like something that may not be the best of the best that I've done over the years is something. And I guess skating for fun to just like maintain, I guess. Because that's another thing too, like maintaining ability is so hard as you get older, and while you're in the skateboard scene, like when your life revolves around skateboarding, the first thing I want to do when I'm done skateboarding is like go into the woods and go for like a hike or like go do something completely different. So I have a lot of hobbies like outside of skateboarding, like photography, hiking, just like looking for wildlife, things like that that keep me sane and sometimes almost to like a fault where like I know I should be either skating or working or anything like that, but you get burnt out and you like that's and I can't like stress this enough. Like just because skateboarding is your passion and it's fun and you're doing it, like you will get to a point. It's been 8 years since I started this business, and you'll get to a point where you are burnt out. Like you're like, I don't want to see a skateboard. Like I'm good. So yeah, and around COVID, I've developed a lot of other hobbies outside of skateboarding that I could just kind of go into the woods and kind of do my own thing and not have to worry about hearing skateboards or getting shinners or, eating it and peeling off scabs, stuff like that. Granted, I still love skateboarding and I have days where I'm like, oh, dude, that was awesome. I'm so glad I love skateboarding. And then I have days where I'm like, oh, I hate skateboarding. Like, I love it, but it's like, I always say this like skateboarding, it keeps you sane, but it drives you crazy, and vice versa. Like it drives you crazy, like skateboarding, like whether it's you can't land a trick, whether it's like the noise, or whether it's you're falling or whatever, you're battling, and then it keeps you sane. You land it, you're happy, you have a career, you're meeting all these people, you're traveling, like whatever, like it's such a beautiful thing. There's so many positive things about skateboarding that you need the days where you hate it to feel alive and to love it. And yeah, that's how I
Totally.
feel.
Yeah, I relate to that so much with my skate company. Actually stopped skating for a while. Like
Yeah.
there's one point where I didn't even have a board. I would just use one of the foundry boards that we just had, and I was just like, yeah, but you just get burnt out because you're out, especially during the summer, if you're
Yeah.
outside all day, when you're teaching for 6 hours and then you have some private lessons lined up after that. It's just like the last thing you want to do. You don't even have energy really to even
Yeah.
skate. So what I found that like helps me out though is not really because you mentioned like yeah, you're like battling to like maintain your tricks that you already have. For
Yeah.
me, it's just like I used to try and battle to maintain those tricks, but now I'm like, dude, those tricks like I'll try them when I try them,
Yeah.
but like what I really enjoy is skating through traffic because that's something that can like you can't really lose, you know?
That's such a good thing that you skating through traffic and even just like skating a fun board. Like I do a lot of like cruisers or like hybrid boards is fun. That's a really good point. And even like skating like a unique spot or like traveling with your skateboard is one of my favorite things to do. Like when I was like I've been to a few different countries and brought a skateboard, and just like skating through a foreign country has like been life changing. So yeah, that's something I'll never get sick of. But yeah, that the whole idea of like maintaining a trick or even like learning a new trick, like it's so hard. But
Yeah. Do
thank
you
you.
ever
Actually, that's a good inspiration because I want to actually go out and maybe it's not today because it's going to be raining, but soon go out and just like skate around and just like have a fun day on a skateboard.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll
through
pick like a
traffic.
random spot in the city and
Yeah,
just go there. It might be like a couple miles away, but just like put my cruiser wheels on, get like I got the Rough Riders,
nice.
the Bones Rough Riders and the Bones Swiss bearings. So I'm just cruising.
Yeah,
But another thing I wanted to ask you is just like how do you set boundaries? Because setting boundaries also allows you to do skateboarding and other activities without being so bothered and stressed by your clients or even your staff that's teaching.
yeah. So I think important boundaries are just like working hours, basically. So like I have certain days that are scheduled, and like when people ask me like, "Oh, hey, can you meet on this hour?" I'll be like, "Hey, sorry, like our class hours are XYZ." Another thing too is like a lot of clients will ask me personally to do like private lessons, and I was like, "Hey, like I don't do that anymore, really." And it's hard to like say no, especially like if I like the kid, I'll be like, "Yeah, like I'll do it." And like, if not, or if I had someone like a new client or I don't know them well, I'm like gonna be like, oh yeah, like I don't really do that, but our team is all great, and I'll point them in the right direction. But there's a lot of boundaries that I set and are get, like people will send me an email at like 9 p.m. and I'll be on my phone, all right, whatever, I'll answer it. Or sometimes like it'll be the opposite where I'll get like an email and then it'll come at like a random time where I'm like teaching or not doing something and I'll forget for a couple of days. I'm like, oh shoot, like so. Boundaries is a tricky one for me. I'm not always the best with obeying the boundaries, but I do think that it's important to have hours that are working and hours that are just for yourself. I also think it's important to like set aside time to do what you want to do. Like so, like like one day a week, I'll have like a day where I could just like kind of take off and do what I want to do. I think traveling is important too, and just being able to like being fortunate enough to have a team that's able to handle everything if I'm not on site is really important. Yeah,
For sure. I think what you mentioned is taking yourself outside of the company, really.
it's the
You
hardest
said you
thing about
stopped
it.
doing lessons, you have the people in place to do that. And I think that's really important. And yeah, and having those set working times. Yeah, like I totally get it. So another question is like, that kind of leads me into this now. Do you have systems in place for onboarding staff?
To an extent, like we have like a basically like not rules and regulations, but something similar. I forgot the exact name of it. Code of conduct we have.
Hmm.
So basically, like this is our code of conduct. So they read over it, they sign off like, hey, like, and then we do a background check for everybody, make sure that they're safe and they have no criminal records or anything like that. And then we'll usually do like 2 hours of training in person, so like shadowing a class, shadowing a private lesson. And then they kind of get into things. I'll get them like a couple hours a week, and then if they're successful and they continue doing it, they can kind of build their own clientele and take it from there.
Wow. So you guys build your own clientele. You
I
have.
mean, not necessarily their own clientele, but like I'll have kids that want to work with certain instructors and like
Mhm.
yeah, something like that. But that's always tricky too, to like when you have instructors, like over the years I've had instructors and then like they want to like do like private lessons and things like that. And it gets a little bit dicey and tricky, but yeah, that's just another conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, we do have some codes of conduct and basically like expectations of like what we expect as an instructor and what we, stuff that like does not fly with us. And I have like a certain techniques for teaching certain skills that I go over with everybody. And then sometimes instructors have their own approach for certain tricks that they like to share, and that's totally cool. And yeah, as long as they're like energetic and passionate and, passionate about skateboarding, passionate to work with kids, reliable and patient, I think there could be a pretty good fit.
So question for you. What's the biggest mistake or learning moment running Shredco?
There's lots. I wouldn't necessarily say like there's specific mistakes, but there's definitely always learning moments. And I would say like a big like not I wouldn't call it a mistake because I didn't really know it, but when I first started the business, I had gone by Skate Now LLC, and that was my business, like Skate Now. And when I went to try to apply for a trademark, there was another company, Skate Now. It was like a roller skating shop in Utah that had a trademark. So when I first started, I was like, oh shoot, like I'm gonna have to like change my entire brand if I want to like grow. And this was about a year and a half into starting the business. So I had like t-shirts made, I had bags, I had stickers, I had everything that said Skate Now. And then I was like, okay, like I have to come up with a new name and a new brand if I want to grow outside of New Jersey and like kind of reach more people. So I was like, you know what? Like for the sake of the brand and for growth, like I do think it's important to come up with like a name change or doing business as. So we rebranded as like Shredco. And at first, like the name change was so hard. It took me like 6 months to figure out a new name. So initially I was like Skate Now, right? And then it was Shred Now, which sounded weird. So I didn't like that. So then I was like, oh, like skating and shredding is the same. So then it was like, okay, Shred Now Skate Co. And then I was like, it's just a mouthful. Then it just got shortened to Shredco. And like the way that I rebranded it was like saying that it's not just about skateboarding, it's about like the skills you take on and off the board. So we like teach what it means in setting or shredding in all aspects of life. So it's like setting goals, helping others, respect for yourself in the park, self-expression, and like determination. So that's like the word shred. And we have those little acronyms and teach all the kids like how to shred not just on your skateboard, but shredding, shred when you do your homework, shred after school, like all these different aspects. So it's not just a skateboard lesson, it's not just a school. And then it also comes with like a lot of like social impact projects that we've done in the past too. So like, yeah, we started just teaching skate lessons and then we started doing basically like give back events and social impact projects for kids that may not be the first ones to learn how to skateboard. So my cousin, he's like a therapist out in Colorado and he does like works with kids with like developmental disabilities, works with kids with like addiction and stuff. And when I first started Skate Now, he was like, "Oh, you should come out and work with some of my clients and some of my kids." So I like went out there, and again, I didn't really know what to expect, but he like I put together a proposal like, "Hey, this is what I offer, like skateboard therapy, learn how to skate, whatever." And then I got like an insane response. And I was out there for a week and I had like two clinics each day, Monday through Friday, and it was just me. So like he came out from his job and like helped me out. And I went to like play it against sports, bought a bunch of helmets, brought some skateboards with me, set them all up, did a bunch of clinics like teaching kids in like wheelchairs and kids that were blind, and then went to like addiction therapy and like talked with kids that are battling depression, anxiety, addiction, and talk to them and like how skateboarding has like saved their lives and how skateboarding can like help them and keep their mind off of like things like that. And that like changed my life. And when I came back, I was like, dude, like I want to focus on doing more of that. Like I want to give back. And not just teach kids how to skate, but like use skateboarding as a tool for recovery and to, get other people on board. So yeah, like when I came back to from Colorado, I started doing like basically all they're called all ability events. So every season we have one or two all ability events for kids on the spectrum, kids with ADHD, developmental disabilities, and we come to the skate park and then we give them all their gear and the helmets and we teach them all how to skate and it's just like a great way. It's all free. All the kids get to learn. And that was like another huge thing. So like yeah, initially like Skate Now was just like a skate school and then it evolved into like, not just like Shredco is not just like a skate school. Like we've got a whole other aspect of like social impact projects and projects and things to like help other people. And I could also touch about stuff that we've done like overseas too after this. But I know it's kind of segued from a mistake that we've made, but sometimes mistakes and not knowing things can kind of get the ball rolling and to segue into something that's a lot more beautiful and magical and things that you didn't really expect. So yeah, like not being able to get that trademark eventually had turned me into like looking into other avenues and to grow the brand and redevelop it as not just skateboarding, it's all aspects. And then also like when I did get the trademark, I was able to like kind of keep the brand growing. And yeah, I don't know, kind of went into a little
Yeah.
snowball effect there. But yeah, I've got a lot to say about stuff like that. That's what I'm most passionate about with what I do.
So if you had to start all over again,
Yeah,
what would you do differently in the beginning? I say this because like
yeah,
even with like how your name changed,
yeah,
like you had to do some trademark stuff and you found out that someone else had your name.
yeah.
So there's like a few mistakes there, or I don't want to say like learning
Yeah, yeah, no, you can say
opportunities
mistake. I
and
mean, yeah,
then
it wasn't a mistake because I didn't know what I was doing at the time, and I don't think that I would ever know what I was doing. Like, or like, I don't know. It's not like I wouldn't say like if I did it differently, things would be better.
but
I would,
with the information you have now, like
yeah.
all the information you have now, and then you're like, all right, I can start a new one. What would you do?
I would say certain things, like especially with like opening up an indoor space, it required a lot more financial overhead than I was prepared for. I would say maybe just instead of doing like an indoor space, like doing something different in that aspect. Like I love my indoor space and it's great. It's just very financially, it's like a financial, it is tricky to maintain financially and it costs a lot more opening it up than I anticipated. So like going into that, I would say maybe like from the earlier days setting aside or saving more or like putting it into another like account or something like that so that way coming to when you're doing like something that's a little bit more expensive like you have extra overhead things like that. I never took out a loan or anything like that for my indoor space. I kind of just paid it for everything out of pocket, but I feel like it's definitely harder to like maintain profits through all four seasons with an indoor space as opposed to with an outdoor space you're having profits in spring, summer, fall. The indoor space, you're having profits in like the winter and like the end of the fall and like the beginning of the spring. And then like in the summer, I'm kind of paying for it with the outdoor spaces. And it was really tricky to like manage that the first year or so. I've had it for 2 years now. So it's like I'm kind of getting the understanding for it a little bit better, but I will say that that has been something that has just been a challenge for me from the start, even till today, like having that indoor space and managing it. And it's just, it's great and it has opened so many doors and there's so many opportunities and it's so positive for the brand and I've met so many people and it's amazing, but it's also with that awesomeness comes a lot of stress, a lot of financial burden, a lot of just like I don't know what's next and like what now and like how to expand because it's when you open it I'm like oh cool like I'll open this and then I'll have another one in a couple of years and then I'll do this and then it's like you get to the day to day and it's like wait a second I'm one person I have all these outdoor programmings I've got an indoor program and I have a team and the team is great but like they're not me they can only do so much and so like it is I will say like it's not like as easy as I anticipated it and yeah, I don't. I'll never say like, oh, I regret opening it or I wish I didn't do this. But I definitely will say that like I wish I was a little bit more prepared for what I was getting into. And I'm not saying like it's too late or whatever because I love everything and I won't take anything back. But I will definitely say like it's not easy. And opening like a shop or a storefront or a physical location of any kind is gonna be challenging no matter what. So just being sure that you're prepared and you do the research. And I think that in terms of like the early stages, I don't have too many like, hey, I wish I did this differently. But like when I open the storefront, it's not so much, hey, wish I did this differently. It's like, hey, I wish I knew this or like planned better or have like after 2 years versus day one, like it's so much different. So yeah, that's something.
Yeah, you know, for me, it's like I feel like what I would do is like what you actually already do, like how you started. Because like,
Yeah.
I would if I was just going in solely like to do a skateboard program
Mhm.
or skateboard lessons, I would actually just go right to the municipalities. I would get
Yes.
insurance, start a skate business, and then go right to them. And then as we talked about, like get the clients who enroll
Yeah.
their contact information and start marketing to them, and then grow from there. And I don't know if that would lead me to an indoor skate park to
Yeah.
have, but I think like solely I would focus on the public parks and then just working on how many municipalities I can grow with and then really focusing on staff. But I would think of
Yeah.
my staff as independent contractors instead of
That's
employees
that's
because
what I do.
okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's like a great way to go about it. I mean, there's a lot of like workers' comp insurance, and there's
Mhm.
tons of other things that go into payroll that a lot of people don't know about,
Yep.
including like having a payroll company. But I think as an independent contractor, there are some ways around those expenses. And plus, it gives you a little bit more freedom to actually kind of grow the company in that type of direction. If you have an indoor park, it's probably better to have employees where it's just like you can have control and quality over the experience people have inside your facility. But I think outdoors is a little bit different. And that's what I would kind of focus on if I had to go back and think about it. But
Yeah.
again, like I started completely different. I started really with a skate park for my friends to hang out at.
Yeah, that's that, and again, I admire like the way that you approached it, and it's like you started where I finished. Like I'm not saying I'm
Yeah.
finished, but like we're at the same point, and then it's like you went this way and I went this way, and
Yeah,
like, but yeah,
totally.
I would say I'm like I love my indoor space, and it's such a thing to have, but like looking back, it definitely has been a challenge, and I can't say that I'm gonna do it forever. Like, but again, like I know that I'm gonna like if I were to be like, oh yeah, like the lease isn't getting renewed or whatever, I know that people are gonna be super upset because like it's changed a lot of lives over the years.
Totally.
And I have kids that skate there like weekly. I've got employees that are there all the time. But yeah, it's something that is challenging. And again, like I'm one person and being able to manage like what, like I would say I have five after school programs and then I've got like four municipal programs and then I've got after school program or I've got like classes at the indoor park every day. And then it's just like it's crazy and it's so easy to burn out. And I'm like I said, I'm only one person and I'm like
Yeah,
most of the time, every
totally.
day. That's why my brain's all over the place. So if I appear chaotic in this interview podcast fun talk, it's because I'm all over the place in real life.
So, question for you. We talked about a lot of stuff. We talked
Yeah,
about like the stigmas people have at public parks, how to get started with a skate business, doing skateboard lessons, trademarks, and some of the areas where we can go back and change, or not change, but if with the knowledge we have now, what
yeah,
would we do differently? So, with all this information, I want to ask you,
yeah.
what would you tell someone who has a passion for skating but nervous to start a skateboard business?
Do it anyway. Now, if you don't start, you'll never know. If you start and fail, it's better than not starting at all. And even if you don't start a business, start a brand or just start something. Like come up with an Instagram or social media or website or something to have that you could put energy into. Because if you have something and you're putting energy into it, whether it's like I have I'm coming up with like a board company or coming up with a skate school or it's a shop or something like whatever it is, if you're putting your energy into it and you are passionate about its growth, it will grow, whether it's exponentially in like a couple of years, whether it's over a long time. But if you don't start and you don't actually put energy into it, it's always just going to be that idea. So you don't necessarily have to go out, start an LLC and start a business, but if you, for one, whether you're going to be a skateboard instructor, whether you're going to start a board brand, having some sort of proof of concept, like for example, for me, it was a business card, a couple of videos of me teaching, and an Instagram account and a website. That was enough. Like I didn't even need a business at first. I was literally teaching skate lessons while I was in college before I had even started a business, just to like make money to pay rent. Like I had a business card and like a website and a contact information. You could like kind of see what you're getting into. And you don't need much. It helps the more you have, the bigger you could get, but you don't need much to get started. And I do think that you should start if you have that inkling or that idea or that passion. Because again, like that initial like it's like jumping into a pool. Like if you don't jump in, like it seems scary or whatever, and you jump in, you're like, oh, the water's warm, you know? So or it could be cold and full of sharks, but you never know where you're gonna go if you don't jump in. And yeah, that's like where I what I'm feeling.
That is awesome. Proof of concept, just to
Yeah,
jump in, just go into it.
yeah,
One person that I met like a while ago when I started out my company, they're like, before you jump in and make this a real thing, like getting your LLC,
yeah.
and then because as soon as you get your LLC, you're paying taxes. You got to
Yeah.
start doing all this other stuff. And
Oh,
then
you know,
they were
profit.
like, why don't you have this skate park and why don't you just see how much you can make
Mhm.
before you make it a
Yeah.
company?
That's
Because
like what I did. Yeah.
yeah. So I
'Cause-
think that's a really good thing. Just to go in and don't really stress too much about like I mean, I don't want to tell someone not to get insurance or not to start a
yeah,
business
yeah,
because that's like crazy. But like you said, I would say just start, have that proof of concept so you know when you do have a business that this is going to work out.
exactly. And
And
yeah,
then you have some evidence. Like when you go to email a municipality or another company or organization that you want to partner with,
yeah.
like you have some video proof, you have some photos proof of like you doing your thing with tons of kids. Like,
Yeah, and it gives you confidence too to like approach municipalities. Like if you've never done it before and you get like like then all of a sudden they're like, yeah, you can do this, and you have 20 kids and you're like, what do I do? But yeah, like it will give you confidence. It will allow you to showcase your abilities and yeah, and then having like an Instagram account or Facebook, social media, whatever it is, and like where you can get actual like followers and like people supporting your brand, I think is important because then you can get feedback and you can kind of have like a sense of growth and accomplishment. And yeah, like what you said, just making money before you start a business and just saying like, oh yeah, like I could do this and actually make money with it and make a business and then you start it and sure enough you're good.
that's awesome. Man, we covered a lot of
Yeah,
information, a
I looked at the
ton
time
of
and I was like,
stuff.
damn, bro, we were sorry for yapping, but
You dropped some gems, dude.
thank you.
Dude,
Um,
is there anything else that you want to mention before? I mean, of course, I'm going to get your social medias and where
yeah.
people can find you, but is there anything else that you wanted to cover? I mean, we got to do this again anyway
Yeah, I'm
because
super down. Yeah, I definitely think that it's like a beautiful thing being able to work in skateboarding. It's a blessing, and it also could be a curse too if you know end up doing it for so long that it drives you nuts. But I would say definitely I wouldn't regret a thing. I love what I do. Fortunate enough to be able to create a career through skateboarding and one that's not even professional skateboarding, whereas like you know this is something completely different, something that's new relatively. And I would say like yeah, if you're nervous or you don't know where to start, I think just starting with something small and something that will just give you like a little bit of a prototype is huge. And you're never gonna know everything, so don't let something you don't know stop you from starting. Like when I was first starting, I didn't know anything about taxes, I didn't know anything about insurance, I didn't know anything about like literally half the stuff I learned while doing this business. But if you let that stop you from starting, you're never gonna grow or do anything. And then I will say that, yeah, skateboarding is an amazing thing. It's got so many powerful benefits. And just being able to share that with people, I feel blessed. And yeah, stoked on everything. Thank you for having me, Brett. Huge
yeah,
shout out
thank
to
you,
you and
man. Thank you
Andrew.
so much.
I got to call it out to the
Where can
family.
people find you and your
Um, you,
company?
you can find me at 390 Fairfield Road, Fairfield, New Jersey, Shredco, skating out. No, I'm just kidding. You can find us on Instagram at Shredco, Facebook at Shredco. The website we have is called theshred.co. If you're interested, you could shoot us a contact, an email, or anything like that if you have more questions. Yeah, we're located in New Jersey, so we're always at the Montclair Skate Park, the courts. It's a great park. Live like a couple blocks, not even a couple blocks. I live like next door to it, so I'm there all the time walking my dog around, seeing hi to all the skaters. Yeah, the indoor space is in Fairfield if you ever want to come check it out. And yeah, cool. I think that's about that.
Amazing, dude. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
your
for sure, Brett.
time
Thank
being
you.
on here, sharing all this knowledge that is going to help so many other people, empower
Yeah, I
people.
hope
And,
so.
I learned, it was awesome talking with you. I learned a good
Thank you,
amount
Brett.
too.
Thank
about
you.
you and Shredco. So thank you so much.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate it. Yeah, let's talk, and I'll come out to the Foundry. I still got to do that next time I'm in Philadelphia, so I'll catch you from there, and yeah, see you soon.